All right, welcome back everyone. Dr. Ben, not a real doctor here. Today I thought I'd share a little bit about what I'm doing to rehab my lower back pain. I've mentioned before that I've been dealing with some lower back pain from my previous job, and I've come up with not really a program, but sort of a series of movements that I do regularly to counteract that issue. Now, to be completely honest, I do use a little bit of equipment for this program. I use a kettlebell, and that's for my deadlifts. You don't have to use a kettlebell. You can use pretty much whatever you want, whatever weight's appropriate. Rock, kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell, whatever you have available is fine. I just use a kettlebell because it's convenient. And I'm also using some equipment from stickmobility.com. Never fails. Lawnmower, as soon as I start shooting. And I also use some equipment from Stick Mobility. For what I use them for, there isn't really a substitute. A piece of PVC pole won't work the way these things do. You could omit this exercise if you don't want to spend the money on the equipment. They are a little bit expensive, but they also work really well for a lot of home gym type stuff without actually having a home gym. So first up on the list are hip bridges. The important thing to remember with the hip bridges is that you're driving from the hips and the hamstrings and not arching your lower back. When you get to the top, pause and hold it for a second, and then slowly come back down. Pay attention to where your feet are pointing and how your knees are tracking. It's really much more important to get a quality movement than it is to get a large range of motion. The range of motion will come as you do the hip bridges more often. Next up is rocking. I use the rocking to engage the abdominal muscles. Just like the hip bridges, it's really important to try and go slowly and control the movement rather than using a lot of momentum to just flop all the way over. By going slowly, you're going to have to engage all of the muscles in your torso a lot more, and you're going to get better coordination and better activation of all the muscles on the front of your body. This is going to help unlock your spine and unlock your hips, so that you're not relying on muscles that shouldn't be doing the work of moving your hips as much. And your torso can start to stabilize itself again while other larger muscles do the movement of your hips. Next up, I do these two movements back to back. First is going to be the elbow lifts. So you lay face down on the ground, put your hands on the back of your head, and you're just going to pick your elbows up off the ground. You want to pay a lot of attention to how your shoulders are tracking when you're doing this, and make sure you're not engaging the lower back a whole bunch or tensing up your neck a whole bunch to get this movement done. You want to train the shoulder girdle to do the work it's supposed to do. Just like the other movements, slow, controlled, really important to lower your arms down to the side slowly. Once you get strong enough where this is relatively easy with your hands on the back of your head, you can extend your arms straight out to the side and lift your arm extended. This is going to be significantly harder than doing this with bent arm. It's a longer lever. You're going to have to move more weight at the shoulder. So from the elbow lifts, I roll right into thoracic extensions. You're going to stay in the same position, and you're going to lift your elbows up just like you did with the elbow lifts. And from there, you're going to pick your chest and head up off the ground. Now, you really, really, really want to focus on not using the lower back to do this. You want to use the muscles between your shoulder blades and where your ribs join, basically where your ribs end and your lumbar spine start. So from there up. And you're going to slowly peel your chest up off the ground. Hold at the top for just a second and let it back down. This is going to retrain that thoracic vertebrae, the vertebrae that are where your ribs are, to extend. If this whole area is stuck together and it doesn't bend, then the vertebra above that and below that have to take up the extra work. It can also put extra stress on your hip muscles as well, because now your lower back is doing things that it's not supposed to. Your hips aren't working in the range of motion it's supposed to. So working on thoracic extensions will really help to restore normal mobility to your spine. Next up is where the stick mobility stuff comes in. I'm doing side bends with the stick. While I'm doing this, once I get myself bent to the side, I'm pulling down with the top arm, pushing with the bottom arm, and also engaging the muscles on the side of my body. so that everything on the outside on this lateral line is engaged. This I've found really helps to unlock your ribs from your hips. Once you get comfortable with just doing the basic side bend, you can start rotating front to back, which is going to hit the muscles in your, basically within your torso in different ranges of motion while they're engaged, and help to unlock your ribs from your hips even more. This is a huge one for me because of so much rock climbing. My lats have kind of clamped down and my shoulders are kind of stuck to my ribs, which has made my ribs stuck to my hips. So I found, honestly, for the price of the stick mobility stuff, for the issues I've had, there is no better tool that I've found to help unlock that whole cycle. So for me, they were worth the purchase among many other things I use them for. And last but not least, an old classic, simple deadlifts. When you're doing these deadlifts, again, slow and controlled, especially on the negative. This is where you're really gonna unlock your glutes. And you also wanna pay a lot of attention to make sure you're extending your hips back a whole bunch. You should feel like you're almost going to fall over. And that's really the end range of motion that you want your hips to extend backwards. If you're just deadlifting, if you're just dropping your hips straight down, you're really not engaging the muscles on the back of your body. And these are the muscles that you really, really need to work to make sure you're healthy for regular movement. So that's the sequence of movements that I go through. You can run through this in like 15-20 minutes. These are pretty low intensity exercises. You don't need to spend a whole bunch of time on each one. I'll put sort of my program down in the details below. You can read through and see how I'm doing this. And I don't always do these exercises all in one big block. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll do these movements on their own throughout the day rather than trying to get it in one big workout. If you have any other questions, any follow-ups on this, hit me up in the comments down below. If you liked the video, smash that thumbs up button. Share the video with your friends, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me keep bringing you content. Until next time, keep your life in motion.